So I said the key to building wealth is not how much you can work. You can't work your way to wealth. You got to invest your way there. And all wealthy people, black, white, Asian, Chinese, they own a whole bunch of shit. The people who aren't wealthy is because they don't own nothing. You only have your money sitting in cash. If your money is just sitting in cash, realistically, you're becoming poorer every day. Some people actually fear success. Success comes with a lot, right? But until you can overcome that average reality that you live in, no matter what you're on, once you become comfortable there, it becomes average. Anyone can live in average. Everyone can live in mediocrity, right? Then there's those outliers who consistently push themselves to go to the next level. Knowledge is what gives us leverage in life. It's not about how strong you are. It's about what you can learn. And then how can you actively apply that? The more money they print, the more money that money loses value. It's the reason why the bank wants you to have your money there, so they can take it and use it and invest it so much and be like, hey, it's just sitting, I'm gonna give you 50 cents on whatever you had in there. And so the idea of ownership was, yo, we can just start owning everything that no matter if it's just a stock. Like, that's powerful, because if you can start owning the businesses that you now consume every day, you turn a one-time transaction to a lifetime of profit. And that was major for me, because if I go to the store and buy a pair of Nikes, that's a one-time transaction. In order for me to get something from them again, I gotta come back and buy another pair of Nikes. But if I own the Nike stock, long as I own it, it's a profitable vehicle for me. So that one-time transaction can become a lifetime of profit if I own that business. The reason why people think wealthy people or people with money are sinister is because that's what you kind of taught in the hood. Like, you kind of taught like people who really have money, like they did some wicked shit to get it. They did some backstabbing, cutthroat shit to get it, and you'll never get that, right? And so that same mentality now happens on a lower level, right? The hustling, the dope dealing. So now you think like, yo, I gotta just do sinister shit to get money. And then the people who are successful in the drug game, they're looking at the people at the top like, damn, I wanna be that. But the people at the bottom will never get a taste of that. And so now we just kind of living off ambition. And so now the people who are in the middle who working, they're like, oh, them people with money, they all crooks. Because being at the bottom teaches you to envy people at the top. And so most people live in that bottom, never knowing how they'll get up there. No one now believes that it's possible. Once you keep passing that down, you start accepting the lower level. And then there's a few of us or a few people who say, nah, I'm an outlier, yo. Like, I'm about to go for it. And then whatever happens, I'm with that shit. You feel me? So for me, again, one of the greatest things that happened to me was my mother telling me like, the world is wrong and you got to get this shit how you live. But I also saw my grandmother be a legal entrepreneur. So I saw it from both worlds. So you say wealthy people stop trading time for money, they start making their money work for them, and they give value to as much value to people as they can. The reason why you give people so much value is because if you give them so much value, they'll never leave you. They'll always be there for you, and you will never need for anything as long as you give value to people. Wealthy people, first they get into stocks, then they start a business, and then they get real estate. As long as you believe in it, like you said, the only belief that matters is, what do you believe you can do? I personally believe that there is nothing I cannot do. And for me, it's all about impact, purpose, fulfillment. Like, the money is a byproduct of everything else. That isn't my focus. My focus is I have a knowledge and information that I know that can change lives. Not just one life, not just like lives. And so the way that you change lives is by consistently learning, finding new ways to put that information out there, being able to open up, being able to be vulnerable, because people need to connect. The greatest thing that ever happened to me was going to prison, because I was able to sit down and mature in that environment. Whereas had I been in the world, I'm not saying I wouldn't still be this, but the path would have been completely different. So while I'm in prison, I pick up a habit of reading. That was the game changer for me. On the streets, I never had the opportunity to just sit down and read because I'm always trying to survive. In prison, there was no longer a survivor mode there.
The education, the knowledge is the fertilizer to your wealth.
And no matter how many times you tell a hood story, it's still the same. I've lived this shit for real. I don't keep need to read this. And so I used to get up in the mornings and watch CNBC. So mind you, people in prison, they love to watch The Young and the Restless. A good business has great product. They have great clientele. A great hustler has a great product. He has consistent clientele. A good business on the stock market has what's called a moat, a competitive edge that keeps his competitors away. A good hustler on the street is gonna have that competitive edge where they be like, nah, yo, I ain't rocking with you. I'm gonna just wait till trap come back, right? So there's the competitive edge. A good business has a good branding moat, meaning my name is good, right? So a good hustler on the street, yo, Trap got that blue magic. I'm good on you. Like if I can't get Trap, I'm gonna just go Trap. But Trap got that blue magic, that's what I'm rocking with. Branding mode, right? That's it. A great business on the stock market has more assets, more liquidity than debt. A good hustler on the street is, if you don't learn how to fund your business, if you're operating where all you have is re-up money, you're not gonna last long. So those components reminded me the same. So for me, it's always about how do I attain as much, it's always a challenge for me. How can I attain as much knowledge as I can? Because I love learning. Like I love learning, but then how do I take that and be able to now reciprocate it or give it to somebody who may not understand calculus or trigonometry, but if I can give it to them in this way, they can say, oh yeah, I got it. And there's more people that struggled in the world that has become successful. So struggle has to become a language that I struggle. So that's a language I'm great at. So if I can break down things into a struggle language, now I make it the game winnable for everybody. And that's the goal, to make the game winnable for everybody who's bold enough. So I actually got that term from Warren Buffett in one of his meetings. I want to say it was the 1995 shareholder meeting. And he said that owning a stock is owning a percentage of a great business. And so once I understood that concept, I understood that the key to wealth is through ownership. I took my time, I researched the Warren Buffetts and the Peter Lynch's, and I'm not gonna lie, in the beginning, that was like Chinese to me, right? This is a foreign language. And so what happened to me was it started reminding me of being in the streets. Everything about it. And I heard this term one time that said, the real gangsters are on Wall Street. The real gangsters are in the government. And I was like, damn.
Or really getting into it, like, this makes sense. Like, damn, I see why they don't teach us this. This shit powerful. Like, 70% of everything that we use and consume with our money is on the stock market. Like, everything. So I'm like, damn, like, all right, cool. All right, it makes sense to me now. Like, even the brands that we wear, Louis Vuitton, LVMH, third richest man in the world. Louis Vuitton owns Louis Vuitton, they own Dior, they own Hennessy, Moet.
Yeah.
Like, yo, like, let's own it. And oftentimes the stock is cheaper than the product.
in prison. We fight for like 4 hours.
Jeez.
Back to back. I'm just fighting one after another one. Like we just fighting. And I go to solitary confinement. And at this time, all of these parish prisons is considered like one of the worst parish prisons in the United States of America, right? And I go to the cell and I meet this white guy. That was the turning point of my life. I get in the cell with him and I'm frustrated, like I'm kind of bust up. And he sees me and I guess he's in awe of the idea of so many black people are in this position. He says something to me, he says, man, y'all playing the wrong game. And so in my mind, like I'm frustrated, I'm like, man, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, bro, like don't make me whoop your ass in here right now. Like, and he's like, no. He's like, listen, bro, I don't mean no harm, no disrespect. But y'all, like, why? And I'm like, man, what are you talking about, man? Like, this ain't no game. Like, it's real. And so he says something. He said, that's the problem. Like, y'all don't even know it's a game. Wow. And so when he told me that, I'm like, it's something about when you mad and you in the moment, but like something, when it makes sense, it hits you like a ton of bricks. So I'm like, what? He was like, man, listen, man, there's a game that's being played. And you're playing a game that you can't win. For a minute, I just started thinking about the people who I knew that was in the streets. Everybody lost. Everybody suffered the same fate. There was nobody in the street that I knew at 16 that won. Everybody I knew had either been to prison, been shot, got killed, their father, like everybody suffered the same fate. I realized how powerful it was for me to, one, become economically like powerful in my mind. Because the thing about investing, especially in stocks, is that piece of ownership of everything that I use. Now makes me say, well, if I own that Apple, like that subtle shift in my mindset changed everything for me. Because now I was after just owning everything that I consumed. In the beginning, that was my introduction to the game. Let me just own everything I consume and then I'll feel okay. And then one dope thing happened to me. In 2010, this after I'm home from prison now, right? I'm home from prison. I'm back in the streets hustling. Because even though I have the information, I don't have the money, right? And I'm like, well, so therefore the knowledge that I had wasn't powerful because it wasn't applied. Whatever you haven't been exposed to isn't your fault. Once you get exposed to it, you now are accountable for it. And so once I've become exposed to so much knowledge and information, once I expose you to it, you're accountable because now you can no longer say, I didn't know. So the important thing for me to tell them is start where you are. You build a house brick by brick.